So just when you thought Republicans couldn't get any worse, does anybody still think that? Believe me, if you ever think that, they can get worse. So there's an example of it in the case of immigration. Now, you remember what Steve King had said back in the day? He said, for everyone who's a valedictorian, referring to immigrants coming across the border, he said, there's another 100 out there that weigh 130 pounds, and they've got calves the size of cantaloupes because they're hauling 75 pounds of marijuana across the desert. Okay? So that was, of course, a Republican from Iowa saying that if you got these kids coming in across the border, and he'd said this a while back now before the current crisis that we have, they're all drug dealers. Most of them are drug dealers. You might have a couple of smart ones in there, but cantaloupe calves. So that seemed like maybe we'd reach the bottom of the barrel. Oh, no. We're just getting started. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go to Representative Rich Nugent, doing the Nugent name proud. There's a lot of smart Nugents in the country, apparently. He's a Republican of Florida. And wait till you see how loathsome he gets. Let him get warmed up here on what he thinks about children who are immigrants who are coming across the border. Watch.
And a lot of these children, quote unquote, you know, and the first caller mentioned it, is, you know, they're gang members, they're gang affiliated. Listen, if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, and you're coming from a country that's gang infested, particularly with, you know, MS-13 types, that is the most aggressive of all the street gangs. When you have those types coming across the border, they're not children at that point. You know, these kids have been brought up in a culture of, you know, of thievery, of culture of, you know, murder, of rape, of all those types of things, and we're going to now infuse them into the American culture.
They're not children anymore. I mean, this is as bad a propaganda as it gets. You dehumanize them. They're varmints, so they're not children anymore. They're grow up in a culture of thievery and a culture of drugs and all the things that he's talking about here. Culture of murder, of rape, and all those type of things he said. That's a quote. Now, you see, they're running from the gangs. They're not in the gangs. They're running from the gangs. That's why they're here. Part of the reason they're here, of course, part of the reason is some people misconstrued the laws that were in place here to think that if you were kids, or perhaps some of the people who were going to profit off of that told family members, hey, listen, if you pay me, I'll take your kids across the border, because if they make it in time, then America's going to let them stay. That's actually not the law at all. The way that President Obama issued an executive order was that if you're here already at the time that he gave that executive order, and you've already been here for 5 years and you can prove it, 5 years straight, then you could actually get something equivalent of the DREAM Act, where if you're a good student, you can go to school or you can join our military. So it's not the law that if you make it across the border as a kid, we're going to give you all those things. We're not. That's not the law, right? It was misconstrued. Now, that's part of the reason. The other part of the reason is there's tremendous violence going on because of our stupid war on drugs. But this guy takes it and says, no, these so-called children, these people who aren't kids, who are going to come over here with their culture of rape and murder and thievery. We don't want them to come over the border. It's not a good idea. We don't want the kids coming without their parents in that dangerous path. We don't want them to violate the law. There's a lot of things we don't want. But when you do this to people, man, you can't figure out that people are not going to be happy about that, that when you call these Central American kids who risk their lives to get to this country, and that this is how you treat them and this is how you view them, then you're surprised that people are turned off by this? But he's not alone. I mean, I gave you the Steve King example. I can give you dozens of examples from Republicans, but now they're getting worse and worse. I'll give you one more, and it's Louie Gohmert. And he's on the floor of the House. Listen to this speech.
The state of Texas reported it has identified between October of 2008 and April of 2014 a total of 177,588 unique criminal alien defendants booked into Texas county jails. Think about that now, Mr. Speaker. 177,588 criminal aliens booked for crimes into Texas jails who were responsible for at least 611,234 individual criminal charges over their criminal careers. That included 2,993 homicides.
Did he mention criminals enough? I wasn't quite clear on that. See, all these illegal criminal aliens, you know what they are. They're criminals, homicide, rape, thievery. It goes on and on. This is how you dehumanize. He's not anywhere near done. Keep it going.
People are being killed in America, and specifically, according to these figures, 2,993 that we know of by criminal aliens in this country. And they've committed at least 7,695 sexual assaults. You want to talk about a war on women? This administration will not defend the women of America from criminal aliens by the thousands and hundreds of thousands. Well, we know thousands, and we know people are coming in by the hundreds of thousands illegally. And this administration wants to talk about other people having a war on women when they will not defend the women that are being sexually assaulted by illegal aliens in this country.
We hadn't reached the bottom, apparently, of the barrel. Here we are. They're all rapists, too. And these, by the way, remember that the issue at hand now that they're all giving speeches about is over 50,000 immigrant kids that came across the border. And the question is, what do we do with them? How do we adjudicate this and send them back if they need to be sent back, yada, yada. But now, all of a sudden, everybody's a criminal alien, and they've got the homicide, the thievery, and now the rape. They're coming here to rape our women. Gee, I wonder if these guys are spreading hateful propaganda. I mean, if you put it in a movie, it'd be so over the top that you'd be like, oh, this is some B-rate crap, man. Come on, politicians, they can't be that bad. I mean, literally, I remember watching Machete, right? And thinking, these guys are so over the top. I mean, I know people are bad. Now, this is worse than Machete. Go watch the movie. You know, you got these over-the-top politicians. These guys are worse. They're like, they're criminals. They're raping everybody. You just heard it for yourself. I can't tell why they're losing Latino votes. Let me pray on it, see if I can figure it out. Now, one final piece from Gohmert here that actually gives you a sense into his frame of mind here. Listen carefully to this.
The threat to our country, threat to our very existence. Our continued existence is at risk with what's going on at the southern border.
He's saying it's a threat to our very existence. Now, really, 50,000 kids is a threat to the existence of a country that has over 300 million people in it? No, what he means by that is a threat to the existence of the country as we know it, with white people in charge. Now, if you have all these Latinos come in here, well, that's not going to be our country anymore. I mean, it's not like the country's gotten torn down, the Constitution's getting torn down, the government's getting torn down. No, none of that, right? But if we can't win elections anymore and we can't rule over everybody like we have for all these years, well, that's a threat to our existence. That's why they're at this point where they're panicked and doing the insane demonization and the dehumanizing so that we can all hate these outsiders, make sure they don't come in, and the country can exist just like Louie Gohmert and Rich Nugent know it and love it.